for, and I think you framed it really well, especially with their time at Southampton. It was sort of the beginning of them collectively having to go through a stressful period where they he's such a loyal man and demands it from everybody. That's littered all throughout the book, and the foundation of that obviously needs to start within his coaching staff and the way that they have develop their relationships. That's just at the forefront of who they are collectively, and it was just a real joy to read all throughout the book.
Sam, you hear all this, and you haven't read. For those who haven't read the book, you hear about the journey of a coach who's gone, from Murphy to Rosario to then Barcelona, etc. And it's not just football. It's about all the stuff. This book is about friendship and what you need to actually get to the top.
It's about life. It's about life, isn't it?
It's about life. So that's why I get a bit annoyed when people say, "Oh, the timing of this," and maybe now Spurs will start losing because of the book. And it's like, don't you want to hear the story of a guy that's in the peak of his powers, how he got there? Yeah. Because he may actually help you in your own journey, in your own story. It's not about let's get controversy and talk about personalities, which is the English media obsession. This is I think, is a different kind of proposition here.
It is. It is. In spite of the title, it's really not a football book. It's about so many other things. It's about leadership. It's about loyalty. It's about family. It's about perseverance. I could go on and on and on. And so I think what you may end up finding is that, you don't have to be a football fan or even a sport fan for that matter to really, really appreciate this book. So I totally agree with you.
Yeah, it'll be in a year's time I have to do an update. So the what do you call it, the what do you call the first version, the
revision, hard copy,
the hard copy. Okay. The hard copy comes in now, but then the paperback comes in a year's time, and I have to add by contract 10,000 words. And I was already talking to my agent to then say, what can we add? This is not about what happens in the season, or does he win or does he lose. Maybe just explain that the project continues and they're about, in a year's time, about to get into a new stadium or whatever. But the book is there. It's just a sample of a season, but it's not about, as you say, well, it wasn't meant to be just about the football. It's about how all those things that we're talking about.
What sort of interaction did you have with Mauricio outside of the training grounds, outside of his office? Did you ever get to go over to his house? I understand from reading parts of the book he's quite a wine aficionado. Did you share, a bottle of Malbec from Argentina with him?
Yes.
One or two.
Yeah, probably a few, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the last one was when I brought in the book. So I was very proud of bringing a decent bottle of Spanish wine, but he just didn't look at it. Took it aside and said, got this Malbec for Argentina. All right.
I think he's done that to some of his players in the past as well.
It was really nice anyway, no complaints at all. So yeah, I feel awkward a little bit invading that world, because you in the world of football you get acquaintances and you get friends. I would consider him one of my friends, but I do know as well, and if I had any doubt, by working on the book, it just reinforced the idea that world, the private world, is his world, one that doesn't really want to inviting, and he does give already so much. We are all vampires. We all go to the training ground with our cape and our big teeth out, and we just come out, and when we see him, we just go and get some blood. Give us answers.
Right.
Give me an hour. I need to talk to you for the ball, and give there's this player at 15 that needs help, and this mother that is doubted, and he's got to give answers to everybody, but he just gets completely empty. And that again is one of the things, as I said earlier, one of the things for the book, where what happens when you don't have any more to give. So one of the things he does is he hides. There's a corner in John McDermott's, the head of the academy's office. There's a corner there with a chair. When John knows that he comes in and sits in that chair, it's not to be disturbed. So it's like all of a sudden it becomes a lamp, and nobody sees him. In that corner, it's like people pass by and nobody sees him, that he's there. So
doesn't exist.
At that point, he doesn't want to exist. So
Yeah.
But yeah, that's perhaps something that people don't think about. I don't know. There's that I'm trying to explain that other side to managers as well. You know, they're human beings, and
that's exactly right. And you really showed it. I mean, he's a my definition of a beautiful man, right? I mean, that's what he is to me. And I think what you did is you showed the human side of a manager in the Premier League, and you know, family, relationships, struggles, challenges, all of those things. You know, I think you mentioned earlier the gentleman at Orion who's a Spurs fan said there's something special going on here, and we've talked about it for you know, as long as we've been doing this podcast. We absolutely agree. This journey that we're on, and I sort of view it as a smaller club trying to break into the hierarchy of, you know, one of the most important sports leagues in the world. There's a project here, obviously, and Daniel in the epilogue, in his words, talked about really all that he was asking for is for the club to do its very best with the resources that he's able to provide Spurs with. But I'd love for you to read between the lines and say, what's the project as you see it? You know, what are the stated goals? What are the expectations? You know, what are the bare minimums, logical progression that you see that needs to happen here?
The progression that's taking place already, and you will only know how far you can go once you look back into it. But all it is at the moment is about daily work, synergies being created, and quite clearly they started in a different place, Daniel and Pochettino, to the one they're in now. They were much separated before, and now they understand each other much better, which is absolutely crucial. That's why he says, Daniel, in the book, that he would like him to be there. He's Sir Alex Ferguson, and he uses Ferguson as an example for a reason. I think Ferguson gets mentioned a few times in the book, including that meal that he had with Pochettino had with Jesus and with Sir Alex. But Daniel wants a lot of what Ferguson represents, and he thinks Pochettino can do that: a legacy, an identity, you know, the faith in youth, but also winning. Winning is what they're all here about. If I know that a lot of people are saying, why a book, or why is he praised so much when he hasn't won? Well, I define success in a different way to most people, I think. For me, success is not how many titles you've got. For me, success is, have you maximized what you are? You know, have you helped others in that process? Are you in a journey that is fascinating and interesting, where you make everybody better? That, for me, is success, and he is doing that, but he has to keep going. And there'll be a point where not, you know, the being second or third in the league will be seen perhaps as a minor recompense for what he is doing. It may just be that financially you'll be stronger in 2-3 years, and then you'll be able to compete in the market, which is absolutely crucial. Because at the moment, I think he's getting third or fourth choice instead of first choice more often than not, which of course limits your progression.
Well, having said that, though, go ahead. Sorry, pardon me.
No, just quickly. Having said that, everybody else is doing in England. They're trying to win in a different way by changing faces every summer.
Right.
By not being able to do so, he maximizes the potential much more than other teams do. It's just, what is the limit of Kane? What is the limit of Dele Alli? What is the limit of Wings? Where is the limit of Hugo Lloris? And he's made them all believe that they haven't reached the limit, neither of them. So there's still more to come that way.
Amen.
I suppose you measure success by your starting point, don't you? Wherever you start. So, for example, if you go to a Barcelona, a Real Madrid, a Manchester United, your success maybe is measured by titles, maybe Champions League titles at that. Whereas if you go to a club like Spurs or Espanyol or even Southampton, with their financial restraints and their ability to compete, then success is different. I think Pochettino arrived at the club saying he wanted to make Spurs fans proud again. I think we've done that, but at the same time, he's sort of raised the bar now. And even after last night, there's still a few accusations that he doesn't quite get the need for winning a domestic trophy, which is a little bit unfair, I suppose. Do you think perhaps he's a bit too honest in his interviews when he talks about his priorities?
Well, I think there's two ways of looking at what happened last night. One, he hasn't prioritized the Carabao Cup, and what a shame, because it was 4 games from winning it. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is, what happens when he uses 5-6 players that are not regulars? Well, Spurs don't compete as well. And why is that? Well, there's a big gap between the first 12, 13 players and the rest. And why is that? Because there is no finances to get a much stronger bench. Right, so what's happening? Well, with 14 players, he finished third and second and is the most consistent team in England. Right, success. In my eyes, so far, success. Can he keep that going? And that we will have to see. I think he can, but it demands a lot of energy, a lot of right decisions in the market. Doesn't always work like that, and then just believe in and keep going with it. I'm not scared about him leaving in the near future, or Kane leaving, or the key members of that squad, because they feel something is being built. And I met Eddie Jones, the England rugby national coach, maybe 4 weeks ago, and he said something that stuck in my mind. Everybody wants to feel part of something special. Now, you've got that. You want to be part of it. But, by the way, you have to do your part. As fans, you have to demand that this team wins. Do not stop doing that, and don't get comfortable with the, all right, well, he's made us feel good. No.
Yeah.
Keep demanding, because he needs that. And everybody needs that. And Kane needs that. And all Daniel Levy needs to hear that. So everybody needs to match. Daniel Levy has to make sure that everybody, that the club matches everybody's ambition for this to go where everybody wants to get to.
And I think this is, a great time to talk about this after coming off the back of being knocked out of the Carabao Cup last night, because I don't know if you're probably not as subject to this as we are as supporters, but there's a huge social media meltdown going on right now. Everybody's fighting with each other, and as supporters, we really
honestly, why?
And that's what that's kind of what I want to that's what I want to get your input on. Is you have more of an insight to this as supporters. There's a faction that believes that silverware this year is vital to keeping Harry Kane at the club, keeping Pochettino, to keeping this whole project together. And they think it needs to be now or they're all going to leave in the summer. Can you kind of maybe dispel that notion for this group of supporters then? Let us know kind of your insight on that. What needs to happen in the short term, or is there any risk at the group breaking up?
I'm a fan as well, so I know that my vision is about 10 centimeters long. And the club vision and Pochettino's vision is miles long, So I understand people looking at the now and wanting it now, but now is now.
Right.
And if we don't get it now, it's going to make me really upset. But I don't think that's a measure of what's happening. Do you think that Daniel Levy, who's eventually the man taking the decisions, of course, about the future of these guys, he's thinking, I'm going to say I want it for 15 years, but if at the end of the season he hasn't won anything, I'll change my mind? No, it's something special is happening at Spurs. And we don't know, nobody knows how long this will go on for. And yes, I can see a lot of these guys challenging themselves at some point. But right now, there's no rush for anybody to leave. I don't see that at all. I don't sense that at all. And even though in the past there's been occasions where big clubs have come in for Pochettino, it's like, where am I going to go? I mean, he's in charge of this idea, this project, going alongside all of you, and he's feeling that all of you are on board. So it's what else can you ask for? One measure as well of how he judges things is the story I say about when Spurs in the first year, especially, you will lose or draw. They will be in the changing room, the coaching staff, and somebody will hide their head under the towel and shout, "Why did we leave Southampton?" And Southampton is like this paradise where everything was working so well, and it could have been still at Southampton if the people that brought him in